Have you ever been betrayed? Have you ever betrayed someone? Fewer responses to that one. Was it maybe someone, if you were to imagine it, someone who, in whatever context, had helped you a great deal? Was it someone with whom you had spent years developing a profound sense of trust? A trust that was rooted in a transcendental and transformative kind of love. Someone who yearned for you to become a better person, a truer version of you. Someone who brought that out in you, even though people who knew you before you met that person would never recognize this new you. Someone who loved you so hard, so relentlessly, with such carefree abandon, but you still betrayed them. What might that feel like? And is that what Judas felt? Imagine yourself surrounded by your best friends, your dearest and most loved companions, people who are new to your life, but with whom you've formed this inseverable bond. And you're reclining with them after a joy-filled dinner, and you're digesting all of the delicious food you had to eat. And everyone else seems to be having a fantastic time, as usual. But you have found it really difficult to enjoy the meal because your mind is elsewhere. Everyone else is hooting and hollering, and it seems to be almost in another room as you fear yourself drifting away from their conversation because you're carrying a heavy secret with you. And one of your friends has gone and been tidying away the leftovers and comes back into the room. And after he returns to his seat, he speaks gently to everyone, asking that each of you learns from how he has loved you. But he pauses, and you think to yourself, he knows I'm uncomfortable, doesn't he? And his entire demeanor changes as if he has suddenly realized something, and you feel this intense rush of blood course through your body as he makes eye contact with you. This gives you a sense of what the bleeding woman experienced when she reached out to him and grabbed his fringe of his cloak in that busy street. And with that one small touch, not even her pale skin against his, she collapsed to the ground, and she immediately knew she was made whole. And he felt it too. He felt the power within him shift and gyrate, erupting beyond its well-guarded walls and spilling out as love into the street. And in that moment, you know how she felt, even if it feels different. And he knows that it feels different. And you get up and leave, not bothering to say goodbye to anyone. And no one thinks anything of it. No one knows what you have planned to do. Maybe you're going to buy more beer and wine. But as you wander through the empty streets, windows glowing with flames, your heart and your blood is pulsing, pounding in your ear as you give away your friend's location to those who want to do him harm. And as the men from the temple and their guards press in on you from every side, you're swept up in their frenzy, only hearing odds and ends of what they're saying. And as it slowly pieces together, you're able to stitch their broken phrases together. Citizen's arrest, trial before the Sanhedrin. One argues to take him to the governor straight away because he's a seditionist. And it's Pilate's decision what should happen to him. You seem to be on autopilot as you herd the crowd of men to the Mount of Olives, your friend's favorite spot to pray when you're in Jerusalem. And as you descend into the groves, you see your friends asleep in the grass. And just ahead, with palms pressed against a tree as if in agony, is your friend. And the guards around you are trying to figure out who is the right one, and gestures for you to tell them. And without hesitating, you step into that clearing and into the arms of this man whose life changed yours in ways you never dreamt possible. And suddenly that pulsing, gyrating energy that flowed through your veins stops as he asks, "Is it with a kiss that you betray me?" And time doesn't move for you as the priest and your friend push in against each other, and the guards bind Jesus' hands and lead him away. And all of them are walking away, the priest and their prisoner, followed by the guards, followed by your friends scattering in every direction to not be caught themselves. And one of the guards turns back and hands you a purse heavy with at least 30 coins inside, just as the prophet said. And the whole night through, your consciousness is rent with the instant replay of all that just happened, the finest meal with your friends, your teacher's instructions on what life will be after he leaves, all of his weird little stories that he called parables. And stuck on a loop are his words, "Just as you did it to the least of these children of mine, you did it to me." And that pain is unbearable. I imagine it may feel difficult for us to betray someone and to have that betrayal result in gruesome, violent death. And I don't think we've been in this position before. Or have we? Perhaps we're in this position every day. Every time we fall short of loving our neighbor, of loving God's image in that person or in ourselves, or when we do not stand up for or defend another person in the face of persecution, injustice, or oppression. And we receive our own 30 pieces of silver. Every time we do not heed Jesus' call to become better people, to be transformed by the Spirit, to enter into a more intentional and disciplined relationship with our ever-loving God, every time we do it to the least of our siblings, we betray Christ to death on a cross. But just as in the poem, It reads, "So Jesus cut his Judas down and took him in his arms. It was for this I came," he said, "and not to do you harm. But first I had to come to hell and share the death you had. My tree will grow in place of yours, its roots here as well. There is no final victory without this soul from hell." In place of that tree whereupon Judas hanged himself, Christ's tree, his cross, grows instead, vanquishing the death that many would say Judas deserved. And without saving Judas from hell, without a sheep of his own flock, a sinner of his own redeeming, his victory could not be final. It could not be complete without the salvation for all humankind, being first levied upon the one who betrayed him to the hands of death for a kiss and 30 shekels. What wondrous love is this that caused the Lord of bliss to lay aside his crown for my soul?